cannot make up headlines
This
like
is
these.
the
You
greatest
simply
thing ever,
can't.
you guys. This is so great.
So, according to an old interview that New York Times has just gotten their hands on and that they're very, very excited to report on now, back in the day, RFK Jr. said that doctors found a dead worm in his brain, and that worm ate part of his
I
brain and
can't with
then
this.
died all up in there. Okay.
Mhm.
So that is a thing that happened. There's been I mean, he said it. He
Confirmed it.
said that he did not have to have any treatment, but he was complaining about some memory loss, short-term memory loss, and some just fogginess in general. And so when they
Mhm.
ran tests initially, they thought it was a tumor. Turned out to be this worm that you can apparently get when you eat undercooked pork.
Like
He also
everybody over the age of 50 is like, damn, I got to get checked for a worm in my brain.
right.
Because I mean, seriously, who doesn't feel like a little foggy every once in a while? See, am I wrong? I mean, wow, this is crazy. So he had a worm in his brain. It died from undercooked pork
I mean, that's how you can get this specific kind of worm that can
or
get into your brain.
bad water, contaminated water.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then he also was eating so much tuna for a
Okay.
while that he got mercury poisoning. But this was, of course, long ago. He said all of these things had no long-term effects. He's fine, even though there's a part of his brain gone, I guess. He's still fine. He has no residual effects. But this is a story because people want it to be a story, right? They've got to get RFK Jr. as much as they possibly can. And so Nicole Wallace, who is one of the most insufferable people
She is.
ever,
Yeah, she's awful.
she breathlessly reported on this and then had to read a quote at the end, which was so delicious from RFK Jr.'s own campaign. You guys are going to love this.
Extraordinary new exclusive reporting in the New York Times today that could have a profound impact on what's become the status quo in the race for president. It has to do with the health of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the third-party candidate who stands to siphon votes potentially from both President Biden and Donald Trump, despite repeated denouncements from the Kennedy family over his extreme and dangerous positions on things like vaccines. Citing a transcript of a 2012 divorce proceeding and a recent interview, our friend Suzanne Craig reports this, that among Kennedy's previously undisclosed health issues, which include AFib, a common heartbeat abnormality, and a previously undisclosed bout with mercury poisoning, there was a worm that he said ate part of his brain from the inside of his brain before dying there. Doctors thought it was a brain tumor at first. These are significant revelations in no small part because the 70-year-old Kennedy, seen here doing shirtless push-ups in jeans, as one does, I guess, has sought to portray himself as Vladimir Putin often does, shirtless and youthful, as an alternative to the two major party candidates. Indeed, asked if the dead worm in his brain or any of his other health issues could compromise his fitness for the American presidency, a spokeswoman for the campaign told the New York Times, quote, "That is a hilarious suggestion given the competition. Let's bring in..."
That's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. She didn't like to read that.
Oh, she hated it.
She
That's
hated to
why
read.
I so enjoyed it.
She hated reading that. She's like, and shirtless push-ups. I'm not at all attracted to that. I'm not at all turned on. I'm not, because I'm not turned on by any of that.
Oh my
I
God.
don't. Look
Isn't
away.
it hilarious
Look away,
that
Nicole.
at 70, he's considered the youthful candidate?
Right.
Like,
It is
what
really-
have we become?
It is really crazy. He is a jacked up kangaroo, man. Like that eats a lot of tuna, apparently. That's what bodybuilders do. They eat a lot of tuna. They do.
Yesterday, the day before, I think, he had released like a 30-minute story of his life, which I watched a good bit of it, and it was really, really good. I mean, it was a nice done, it was a half an hour little documentary about who he is, how he became who he is, like what growing up was like, all that stuff. And it was just, this harmless documentary about his life. It got banned on Instagram.
Why?
And for nudity for sexual activity, which there was none of that. Like,
I don't
it's
get it.
seriously a documentary. So he wrote, I mean, he retweeted this message he got from Instagram, and he said, "I must have missed the nude scenes in the Who is Bobby Kennedy film. I'll have to watch it again."
What in the hell?
Right? Instagram is out of control.
Yeah, they are out of control. I mean, I tried to share something yesterday on Instagram/Facebook and they shut it down. Just on my personal, like on our other one, it was fine. But then on my personal, they were like, no, you can't share this because of copyright. So they're really weird about copyright. They just want to suppress conservatives wherever they can. They want to suppress certain people wherever they can. They are watching everything that you do, everything you say. They watch your messages. They are looking at your direct messages. They're looking at everything.
Yeah. There was no sexual activity or nudity. That is just freaking insane. But I love his little quips like this. And in fact, about the worm thing, he just tweeted yesterday, and I quote, "I offer to eat 5 more brainworms and I'll still beat President Trump and President Biden in a debate."
Like,
I mean, you gotta love that, right?
It is pretty funny. It is pretty funny. I don't think he's gonna win. But,